chérie, chérie, le beau Paris.
Hello people, and welcome to Paris Set Me Free mini photo tutorials. Any ideas on this one? Well, there's a bit of water down there. There's a nice little street there, and this is right in the middle of a track that people can walk along. It's on the way to the Cité de la Science, something like that, Parc de la Villette, and this is the Canal Saint-Martin, or maybe the Bassin Stalingrad, or something like that. It's just in between the Jaurès and Stalingrad metro stations and the Parc de la Villette. It's a big stretch of canal, but it's kind of opened up into a basin here, I think. And along the side of it is this weird statue. Does this remind you of anything? Well, it reminds me of looking up into the sky from the bottom of the Eiffel Tower, right slap bang in the middle, underneath it. And you see the legs are splaying out to the side here. As you can see, this is over on its side. Let me give you some other shots that I took. There's Daniel, my client friend for this tour, this walk that we did. Interesting walk. Hadn't really done this before with someone. Nice to see things through his eyes as well. He showed me a few good ideas. We were trying to work out what to do with this. You know, how on earth can you do something interesting with it? I was trying, not necessarily succeeding. There's this barrier with a sign which could possibly be incorporated into the shot. There's a lamp post, typically Parisian lamp post. Maybe this weird sort of horn thing can be used together with this. Don't know. It was kind of difficult, really. So I was just wandering around, looking for angles, looking for there's a person going past. But I don't know. These buildings seem to get in the way. It was tricky. Another one. Okay, you see, it's all very messy. The thing itself is really amazing, and yet, how do you isolate it? How do you link this to its surroundings so that it's interesting, maybe a bit funny, ironic? You know, it didn't do it for me. This woman in the pushchair with this thing just didn't really do it for me. I guess it could have done, but it didn't. Again, taking it horizontally, landscape, throwing an angle in. This was starting to look a bit more interesting in my mind. I've overexposed it there as well. You see, you've got all this sky, an enormous amount of sky, and this is kind of pale grey. So you can see the building's got totally washed out. So it's far too overexposed. But you know, it could work. You never know, because if you overexpose a picture when you take it, and then you start playing around with the contrast after, you get effects which are very striking, which you wouldn't have got if you'd exposed it correctly like this. So that's one thing to do: overexpose and then slam in some heavy contrast later on, and you get interesting results. So that was maybe behind my thinking there. Still trying. You see, this building's getting in the way of this. Still trying. Now this is getting towards what I used, I think, in the end. Yeah, I only took a couple more shots. That one's more exposed, with a little building there, which was quite good. And finally this one. And here's the final version. Ta-da! I've CPI'd it. Can't get it all in, so I've decided to show it to you like this. There we are. So I took this one. I tried to get it, in the end, I tried to get it rid of as much stuff as possible. You see, there's really this, which is in nice stark contrast to the trees. This violently industrial thing with hard, cold angles. You can see a bit of the building. You know, you can't get rid of everything, but and you've got the ground, of course. I threw in the angle, which is nice, I think, because these are at angles anyway. So it doesn't really matter if this is the subject. To be honest, it doesn't really matter what way you take it, and if the horizon happens to be at 30 degrees off the horizontal, who cares? Makes it more interesting. Look, these lines are nice diagonals. You know, if you'd taken it straight on, then these would be horizontal with the picture, and it'd be a pretty unartistic picture, if you ask me. And also, throwing in this diagonal allows you to put this down in the bottom left, which could have been whilst still getting in the top right. And you can also place this very nicely in a corner with enough space on this side and this side for it to have space to be as impressive as it is, this weird thing pointing into the sky, while still getting this bottom left. So when you've got a weird subject anyway, don't feel free to use weird angles and weird compositions as well. I think it's basically a dead Eiffel Tower in kind of industrial style. This, you can't really see it, but it does indeed zoom off to a kind of point like this. And if I'd taken this shot from the side, you'd see that it looks like an Eiffel Tower that has just fallen over. Poor old Eiffel Tower. Bit of disrespect there, but I guess it's supposed to be that. I don't know really. It's just sitting there. It's just this weird lump of metal lying on its side. I say lying on its side, but why is it? It's probably not. Maybe it's not lying on its side. Maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. It's just in reference. We're so used to the Eiffel Tower in Paris that anything that vaguely resembles it, we suppose should be sitting on its 4 feet and pointing into the sky. So maybe the architect, the artist here, was trying to make us rethink our ideas by daring to not only copy the Eiffel Tower, but to have her fallen over in a drunken stupor. And another slightly vaguely intriguing aspect is the fact that it's interdit au public danger. I don't think it's in and of itself dangerous, but unless it hurts your sensibilities by daring to question the Eiffel Tower's supremacy. But it's funny really, because it's just sitting there. I'm trying to work out why it's dangerous and why we're not allowed to go behind this barrier. Probably because kids would love to climb it, and I would too actually. And obviously they'd probably fall down and rip their arms open on some of these nasty sharp little details here. So that's probably why. So we were walking along this section here, really looking for things. It wasn't too inspiring until we got into our photography heads, and then it did become inspiring, and we got all excited about drain covers painted different colours and things like that. But before then we were scratching around a bit, and then so when we saw this, we tried our best to do something with it. And just because it's an interesting sculpture doesn't mean it's automatically easy to take an interesting picture of it. Sometimes you've got to really try hard. You can see that sepia was another solution I used to get away from the grim and not too inspiring reality. Don't know if sepia suits it, but I went for it. It's my sepia that I often use, a kind of rich orangey sepia, as opposed to the wishy-washy one old photographs often tend to have. So that's it for that one. Coming across a sculpture, not quite sure what to do with it, and trying to be inventive whilst putting the sculpture to its best advantage in the photograph. That's it for this time, folks. Thanks a lot for visiting. See a good version of this on the blog at parissetmefree.blogspot.com, and see you next time in Paris. Bye bye.
Depuis que je suis à Paris, le jour et la nuit, je suis gris. J'ai compris la douceur de vivre. Je suis fou de joie, je suis ivre. Depuis que je suis à Paris.